We're going to take a look at the Queen Digital Master Series. This was Queen's back catalogue, remastered and re-released between 1993 and 94 on phonogram. Queen's catalogue was originally mastered for CD and released in December 1986. These were on EMI. In 1991, Hollywood Records brought out the catalogue again. Some people say the Hollywood masters sound absolutely horrible. Some people say that the originals are probably the best ones to buy. I've had both, and I found the originals slightly dull in some places, but it's a long time ago. I got rid of them all, and then I kind of ended up with the Digital Master Series, and then of course I bought the I don't have much Hollywood stuff, but I ended up with the 2011 remasters, which I quite like. I think they're good, especially as the albums progress. They get better and better. There is a bit of compression being used, but that's in everything nowadays. The 93, 94s, they didn't improve the catalogue. They didn't improve much, really. The artwork was lazy as well. They're just more or less a continuation. The only difference really is that most of the discs look the same. The artwork's very similar. Phonogram is written instead of EMI. So yeah, let's check them out right now. Queen, this is the debut album. This one, it differs from the 1986 in that it has spine in the colour that the back of the box is. And here you can see Digital Master Series, Parlophone, and it says 1994. Yeah, so this is different in that way. I'm not really going to go through the tracks and materials because I've done some Queen reviews on multiple formats in my channel already. But we're just going to look at the physical things here. So the disc is black, so that's a move away from the original EMI style disc. The 1986 was the silver with the lines going across here, typical, with the band logo and stuff like that. So they get neatened that up a bit. Then in the booklet, the lyrics are here. Again, it's nothing fantastic. It's fairly substantial weight paper. And then you have Queen Digital Master Series, released between June 1993 and March 1994. So yeah, what you might notice here is that they go up as far as the works, and greatest hits is here as well, but it's not on this picture. Went up as far as the works. They never did a kind of magic back in 93, 94. It's a digital recording. I guess they thought they didn't need it. Greatest Hits 2 isn't in there either. Neither is Live at Wembley. They were all released up to then. Like, you know, they didn't put in any extra sleeve notes. They didn't, you know, nothing significant was done. The audio, I've never had Queen one in the original 1986, so I can't compare. But this sounds okay, you know. It's, somebody said that there's noise reduction, and I'm not sure. I mean, I think if you put them all together, you know, the new versions and the older ones and the Hollywood, put them all together, there's not much difference, you know. You can still hear distortions on these CDs. You can still hear distortions and limitations of the master tape, the analog tape. You can hear all that if you listen with headphones carefully. The new ones don't really seem to have that. I think that the 2011s are pretty good, you know. And like I said before, Queen's albums sound better as they go on from 1980 onwards and stuff, because the technology was changing. Stuff is clearer. Queen 2, now people always had their reservations about this album. They always said it felt like there was a cloak over it. It was sonically challenged. Again, lots of distortion on the master and stuff. But the 2011 certainly does a great job. I also have the 2004 mini LP version. That's Japanese. I think they were from the 2001 remasters. That actually sounds very good as well. I was surprised when I heard it back, when I bought it back then. It sounds quite good. Queen 2 is a great album, but sonically there's a lot of details missing from the earlier CDs. So again here, this kind of follows the 1986. There's not much difference. Again though, the disc is black, so they put a bit of effort into that. You know, there's lyrics as well, yes. And again, the masters here. But again, you know, there was not. They didn't put much effort. I mean, Mercury's dead, and the Queen's back catalogue was selling more than ever. And I think these are kind of lazy. You know, they didn't put much effort into them at the time. Next up is Sheer Heart Attack. Again, slightly different along the spine. These are Master Series, and this was from '93, so this would have been the first batch. This is very similar to the 1986 disc. This one is made in Holland, I think. Uden in Holland. Uden. And yeah, again, there's no information about who did the remastering or anything like that. Maybe it was in the magazines or the press at the time, I'm not sure. It just says a collection of 12 albums on CD and cassette from the legendary Queen, digitally remastered at Abbey Road. I think it's Peter Mew, reading forums, I kind of picked that name up. Full album lyrics have been added to Queen, Queen 2 and Jazz CDs. Yeah, that was the first time that they added the lyrics. Yeah. So there you go. That's SHA. This is A Night at the Opera. I actually only bought this the other day. I picked it up second hand because I didn't have it in this series. I had some of the older ones. I remember years ago, going back to between 89 and 1991, I had Queen 2, Sheer Heart Attack, Opera, Races, News. I didn't have Jazz. What else? I didn't have Flash Gordon. I didn't have The Game. Didn't have Life Killers. I had Hot Space. But I got rid of them for some reason. I sold them around 15 years ago. I don't know. I just had a batch and got rid of them and traded them in somewhere. I can't remember. I should have kept them because it's nice to have the original 1986, so I'll probably go looking for them again. Some of them are getting quite expensive because people like the sound quality. They just say that they sound better than everything else. So I'd like them again, and I'm an idiot for selling them. Yeah, I like EMI on the discs, you know. So Opera is, there you go. I was listening to it the other day when I got it with headphones. This also came out in '93. It's not a patch on the 2005 Bob Ludwig 30th anniversary, which is also the same master as the 2011s. I just think that the bass is much tighter and the dynamics are much better. There's just the album really shines on the Bob Ludwig master. It just sounds vicious. You know, if you crank it up, it's a revelation, really. I wish that they all kind of, and that was kind of the test bed, I think, at the start. So, but this, it sounds okay, you know what I mean? You're kind of listening back for the things that you heard in the most recent one. That's the only problem I have with it. Yeah. Again, this kind of sticks to the 1986 style disc. All the little titles in here with the square boxes. That was kind of a big thing in the 80s. The card, the paper is quite good, you know. They did a good job on it. It's nicely done. And again, this just I don't like when they kind of advertise albums in albums. Some artists do it in the inlay. If you've got a lot of CDs in the 90s, when they become glass, they pop them in here, which is kind of a nice. It looks like advertising. You know, it's a bit much. It kind of takes from the album. I don't like CD boxes anyway. I think the jewel cases are disgusting. They break and you know, they're just cumbersome. I like mini LP sleeves if I can get them always. A Day at the Races. Again, I think there was an error in the 1986 version of this. Yeah, the indexing was out, as far as I know. Very messy. This is from 93 again. This was probably one of the first batches. Races is sticking to the 1986, but it's in black, which is a nice. They should have had opera in white, you know. It wouldn't have killed them. I had the earlier 86 version of this, and I found that these have slight distortions as well. Again, limitations of the master and stuff like that. I don't know. I think the Ludwig version of A Day at the Races is actually quite good. I like it. It's one of my favourite Queen albums. It's a fantastic album. I think opera and races are the high point, really. Yeah, so this one, yeah, it's, you know, it is what it is. News of the World. This always sounds good. I had the original of this at one stage. The original one had lines here. You know, the kind of lines, and then this, but they kind of botched this up. They put in this horrible red stripe across the bottom with 1993. And it's very close to the text. It just looks like somebody just did a botched job, patched over. It looks terrible. Yeah, because I love the News of the World album cover. I think it looks really cool. Again, it sticks to the 1986, and down here as well they've made. And look at this. Oh, it's a sin. It's a sin. Pet Shop Boys. So I love the red inside here. It looks fantastic. I always like that, and it sticks to the vinyl as well because. Right from the inside, bass guitar and vocal Roger, guitar Rogers and Brian, Rogers and Hammer Brian, Roger and Brian. So there you go. Yeah, News of the World is so cool. But this album usually sounds good because there's a mistake here. They forgot one colour. It looks really, really weird. Yeah, there's one of the process colours missing. Yeah, it looks strange. Hot Space looks really strange. And I think because News of the World is stripped back, there's not as much tracks being used up. The quality is better than the earlier Queen album. Jazz. Again, this one has a couple of sins on it that were not corrected from the 1986. Mustafa 3.1. Bicycle Race 3.1, Let Me Entertain You 3.1. Somebody was obviously doing a little bit of cut and paste before they fine-tuned the track running times. What a pity. I always found this kind of strange, you know, the way they kind of... It's not bad, it looks cool, but it's just, yeah. Again, it copies the 86. This album as well, it's one of my favourites. There's a couple of duffers on this one, but I just like it, you know. It's an entertaining enough Queen album. And here we go. The inside lyrics are in this as well, and they weren't in the 1986. Yeah, great photo there. So there, yeah, that's Jazz. A lot of people like the 1986. They say it sounds superior to everything else. I'm not sure. I think the Ludwig one is good as well, but Jazz has got a problem in that the drums are really in a narrow bandwidth. They sound harsh. The cymbals on some of the tracks sound terrible. It's just the original vinyl sounds quite good. I also have the 2015 on vinyl, which sounds quite stuffy. It's fatter and bigger. You really have to crank it to get something out of it, and it's got a lot of bass on it. Because this album hasn't got the bass doesn't stand out as much compared to other Queen albums. I think they kind of I think they got on top of themselves when they were mixing it and stuff like that. I wish I could hear it remixed completely from scratch and, you know, rejig the running order, because it should start with Let Me Entertain You, like I said before, and maybe leave Fun It off it, and more of that jazz, which I thought was a weak track. If more of that jazz was sped up, it would sound fantastic. It would sound great. It was like the Fast We Will Rock You. That's the way it should have been done, you know. Anyway, what do I know? I'm just a fan. I'm just a music man. Next up is Queen's very first live album. I think Live at the Rainbow was supposed to be released back in the early 70s, but it was shelved. Live Killers captures the band on the jazz tour in the spring of 1979. It was well received, but the band were a bit, the Queen being perfectionists and fanatics with their sound, were a little bit apprehensive about releasing a double live album. But there was a lot of bootlegs circulating around the place, so record company wanted to quash that. It's a really cool album cover, and it's not a bad album. A lot of people always say that Live Killer sounds like crap, or the sound is bad. Roger Taylor even said that he hated it, and the only thing that was from the concerts was the kick drum. I'm not sure how true that was. I think it's a great album. A nice snapshot of the band at the time, and when you start listening to it, I always listen to it from start to finish. On the cover here you can see that this photograph is from Japan, I think. As far as I know, you can see Deacon over here, and he's just got a hat on, Freddie, Roger, but the photograph of Brian is from a different angle, and it's superimposed onto this shot. So this is the nice fat box edition, but it's a pity that they don't have the titles on the back. They've cropped this up a little bit. Yeah, that's annoying. Again, I don't like this strip going across here. What can one do? So the fat box is cool. Fat boxed girl. There's the disc. It's got the artwork from the album cover, which is very nice. And there's the second disc. And the track listing is on the back here. We Will Rock You, the fast version. Let Me Entertain You. Get on Two Legs. It's still got the bleeps on it. Killer Queen, Bicycle Race. I'm in love with my car. Get to Make Love. Sounds great live. You're my best friend. Now I'm here. Dreamer's Ball. Love of my life. 39. Keep Yourself Alive. Dreamer's Ball kind of drags a bit. I think they could have had Somebody to Love on here. You're My Best Friend as well sounds a bit strange live. It's just kind of very jaunty and a bit throwaway. They kind of fly through it. It doesn't really work very well live. Side 2, Don't Stop Me Now. That would have been out at the time. Spread Your Wings. It's great to have that on the live album. Brighton Rock. That's another great track from Sheer Heart Attack. And it goes into guitar solo. Brian May. One of his better ones. And then we got Bohemian Rhapsody. The Entire Mother Down, Sheer Heart Attack, We Will Rock You, We're the Champions, God Save the Queen. So yeah, so you get the pretty corny sleeve notes for the time as well. I already have the 2001 reissue. A lot of, like, again, as I said, people complain about the sound quality, but you know, do you like the band, or are you going to be picking at stuff like that? How good do you want it? You know, it's fine. You know, it doesn't offend me in any way. I think Live Killers is great. A nice souvenir of the band in the 70s, even though it is a bit flawed and there could be a few tracks. Hopefully, you know, we're still waiting. They will reissue it with some concert footage and maybe, you know, a triple LP or something like that with some extras. Flesh out the concert and give us what we want. This is The Game. Again, I always thought this sounds good, on no matter what it comes from, because it's again a very stripped back affair. You know, Another One Bites the Dust, Dragon Attack. They're very bare. It's just the bass, drums, piano, and a guitar and a vocal. That's it. You know, it's quite minimal stuff from Queen. They stripped way back on all the over the top production, so you can hear just what's there. Really, you know, there's not much fat in it, as they say. Yeah. So there you go. Track listing. Quite a short album. Again, it's similar to the 86. I don't have the 86. I never had the 86. Yeah. Photographs here aren't as sharp and a little bit muddy looking, and then you get the so yeah, that's The Game. Everybody played The Game. Flash Gordon. This never seems to waver much in sound quality. It seems the same across every format. It's a bit it's a kind of a strange one in the Queen canon. Yeah, even the 2011 doesn't really improve on anything. It just sounds okay. I found that the bandwidth is quite, it's not expansive like other Queen albums. It's got a kind of a, don't know whether, I don't know, I know it was recorded as a soundtrack, but it just sounds a bit almost lo-fi in some ways, but it still sounds okay. You know, it's, yeah, nothing wrong with it. So that's Flash. I call it the annual Queen album. You only listen to it once a year. This isn't too bad here, but on the 2011 they did a really bad job. They kind of blackened out the middle, and it just looks like there's something missing from it. Like, you know, it looks like a print where they should have overprinted and they didn't. It looks very, very strange. Again, that's a sin up here. That little barcode thing or whatever it is. Catalogue number. The yellow is cool. I love the yellow of Flash. You get the lyrics of the two songs. Yeah, so that's it. Pretty simple. Greatest Hits. This is also part of the Digital Master series. Again, very similar to the ones that came before it. This was released in 1994. Nothing special here. But another thing on this one is that Greatest Hits 2 had been out by now. And again, with this you just get this very lazy, you know, just the track titles and all that kind of stuff, nothing else. But in 94, when they brought out Queen's Greatest Hits 1 and 2, and they actually put the track listings and they put in the writing and the photographs of the singles like they had in Greatest Hits 2. So that was a much needed upgrade for Greatest Hits. This is Queen's controversial white boy dance music. I like this album. You know, I prefer it than The Miracle. Easily. It's a way more entertaining. I actually prefer it than A Kind of Magic as well. Kind of Magic has a few weak tracks on it as well, on especially side 2. Although no, it doesn't really. No, I just think that Don't Lose Your Head isn't great. Like, but Friends Will Be Friends is kind of wishy-washy. But I like this album. I really do. It's entertaining, and again, vocals by Mercury on it are fantastic. Sticks to the 86 because I had that at one stage. I like this. And there's the. I like this as well. Really cool. That's on the inner sleeve of the vinyl. And there you go. So yeah, Hot Space. It's flawed. It kind of lost Queen their North American audience, but yeah, hell, that's showbiz. The Works. This is from 1984. a return to form after the dismal hot space. There you go. Again, this one sticks closely to the 86. I had the 86, got rid of it like a buffoon. I don't know why. Yeah, I think remastering is a gimmick, and depends who does it. But the thing is, it's like you're upgrading, but sometimes I've learned that most stuff that's remastered, it's not as good as you think. The dynamics are gone when they compress it. The older stuff, for the last year or two, I've been collecting CDs from the 80s. I've gone back, especially things like Dire Straits and stuff, their catalogue. The 80s CDs are much better than the remastered ones that came out. The dynamics are just there. You can crank them up, they sound more natural. That's just it, anything that's remastered, it's kind of loud, and a lot of them are brick walled and stuff like that. Very few people seem to be able to do it right. Frank Zappa's catalogue sounds fantastic. But again, like, he did a lot of that himself as well before he passed away. He was a genius with engineering and audio. So yeah, that's the works. That's the Queen Digital Master Series. That's all I have to say about these. I know the Greatest Hits 1 and 2 were released in '94 as well in the gold box, but it doesn't say Digital Master Series on those. I presume the Greatest Hits 1 is, but it's a grey area that I'm not prepared to go into. So anyway, thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe and take care.